Hello there friends and enemies, and welcome back to Unfinished Archetype, where we take a look at sets of cards that Konami has created over years that are not full archetypes themselves, and kind of see what Konami was going for with them. Today's archetype is one that I only really found out about recently by buying random packs, and was actually requested by a viewer, Romeo of Romolution. This archetype is featured in the Yu-Gi-Oh! R manga, and is used by Reiko Kitamori. It is Puppets. Puppets is a set of cards that kind of look like different chess pieces, and they are the main archetype that involves the sub-archetype of gimmick puppets. Although, you know, much like with Speedroids and Vehicroids, they aren't really the same archetype. That being said, let's get into it, starting off with the puppet that I have seen before and own, Puppet Pawn. Puppet Pawn can attack directly, and once per turn when it deals battle damage to an opponent, you can add a promotion from your deck to your hand. Promotion is a spell card, which we'll go over later. You can banish Puppet Pawn from your graveyard to add an Earth Warrior monster that's not Puppet Pawn from your deck to your hand, and then your opponent can choose to also add a monster from their deck to their hand. Nice atmosphere change. Following that, we've got Puppet Rook. When Puppet Rook is normal summoned, you can change it to defense position, and if you do that, you can send an Earth Warrior monster from your deck to the graveyard. Any monster your opponent has that can attack must attack Puppet Rook. And once per turn, when Puppet Rook is targeted for an attack, you can choose one level 6 or higher Earth Warrior monster in your graveyard, send Puppet Rook to the graveyard to special summon it, and then change the attack target to that monster. Next up, we got Puppet Queen, who can be special summoned when your opponent adds a monster from their deck to their hand without drawing it. And then, when Puppet Queen is normal or special summoned, you can special summon a level 7 Earth Warrior monster from either your hand or your graveyard. Now, if you summon Puppet King with this effect, all of your Earth Warrior monsters gain 1,000 attack for the turn. And finally, we have Puppet King, and much like with Puppet Queen, if your opponent adds a monster to their hand except by drawing it, you can special summon him, but if you do that, Puppet King must be destroyed at the end phase of the turn. Finally, for the archetype, we have Promotion, which allows you to ditch a level 3 or lower warrior monster to special summon a level 4 or higher warrior monster from your deck. Specifically an Earth Warrior, but we should know that by now. After that monster is summoned, if you control any puppet monsters that are Earth Warriors, you can go ahead and have the monster that you special summoned gain 100 attack for each card in your opponent's graveyard. So those are all the puppet cards, and how do we think about this set? Like, what were they going for? Very obviously, they wanted to make the puppets some kind of toolboxy deck, and I feel like they probably did that with gimmick puppets. Gimmick puppets, based on my recollection of the deck, kind of seems to just go around in a circle and get out what you need. However, I think puppets have a very unique thing about being generally pretty powerful, especially for the era of Yu-Gi-Oh! That they were introduced in, at least in the manga. In case you aren't aware, Yu-Gi-Oh! R is a filler manga. It's, I believe, the only Yu-Gi-Oh! Filler manga that came out either during or right after the original run of the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga series done by Kazuki Takahashi. It was a fun little manga series, and it originally came out in 2004 and it ran until 2008. Now, we didn't see the puppet cards actually come into production until around 2009, but I think it's very interesting that the era of Yu-Gi-Oh! In which the puppets were introduced, the Yu-Gi-Oh! R era, had such a seemingly incredibly strong toolboxy type of thing, because generally speaking, when we look at Duel Monsters era Yu-Gi-Oh!, we don't really see that. Like, we get kind of like an inkling as Kazuki sort of started making things a little bit stronger towards the end of the series, but they still weren't like this. I think it would be interesting if Konami kept up with the archetype to make even more of the supporting pieces for the archetype. And by that, I mean the different chess pieces. We have knights that we could go over, we've got bishops, we could have different spells and traps that relate to different plays. Thematically, I feel like it's very much there in terms of chess, right? You've got the king, who is your biggest piece, but also doesn't do a whole lot. You've got your queen, your second biggest piece, who does everything. And then you've got your pawn, who's like your basic starter character. It does what you want it to do. It gets out your spell card that helps your other pieces. I think it's a very interesting set of cards, and I would just like to see it fleshed out a little bit more. Honestly, I would really like to play a puppet pawn archetype. You could even, let's go the extra mile, you could even make it play similarly to Valence, where it moves around the field like chess pieces. And I think you could figure out a way to make that interesting without making it, you know, nonsense. But those are my thoughts on puppets. How do you feel about puppets? Have you played with them before? Let me know down below how you think about this archetype. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, I would like to thank Romeo of Romolution for suggesting this video. It means a whole lot to me, and I would love to just make more videos based on what you guys want to see. And of course, I would like to keep it in the theme of what I do, but there's a reason that I do these videos, and it's because I know that there are people out there that like to see this kind of stuff. Now, real quick, I'm gonna throw a little bit of information at you. You can click away if you want to, but this is just for anyone who's interested. Normally I would keep this to a comment, but I want to apologize for not coming out with a real video in quite a while. I know that it seems sort of stagnant. It's not that I don't have other ideas or other things lined up. In fact, for 2-3 weeks now, I was supposed to get out the next Weird Deck Tech. I have the rest of Season 1 of Master Duel Champion I want to finish. We've got Level Up. We've got a whole bunch of other stuff that I want to do. It's just been sort of an issue with motivation for me, and I'm trying to sort of beat that out. That being said, at the time that you're watching this, as of the day of recording, I am just coming off of a really bad car crash, and it sucked. So I'm hoping that you aren't getting sick of this content. People really seem to like the unfinished archetype videos. I really like doing them. I love finding the weird parts of Yu-Gi-Oh! And talking about them. I just feel bad, and I hope there is nothing to dissuade you from continuing to watch. That being said, once again, I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you found something to enjoy about this video, and until next time, as always, drink your water.